Hey everybody, I'm Eric Oberempt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberempt, checking in here at day one again at D2DCon 6. And on day one, we made a decision that we were only allowing friends to come on the show today because I'm speaking and I only want to speak with people that I know and I like. Tomorrow could be people that I don't know and I don't like, and then you'll all find out if I don't like them. So today, this is a special episode. We're going to get into some fun conversations about some old times with my friend Lynsi
Tuiofu.
Oh, fuck. I'm not even trying that shit. Say it again.
Drew. Just say Drew. It's fine.
Okay.
That's easy. White girl.
Fuck.
Lynsi
Drew.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here, Lynsi.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
I'm really excited. Like, we get to see each other like once a year.
I know.
You know, we used to see each other and talk to each other a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and the guest that I just had on, Chelsea Winters, it was funny because we kind of have the same story. We're like, when we met each other, we were in such different places in our life.
Yes, we were.
You know what I mean? And to where we've come and what we're both doing now is so different but the same.
Yeah.
But it's on such a different level.
Yes.
Or whatever. And it's just really exciting. It's exciting for me to watch you, right? And I know you send me nice text messages and like I know that you're watching, you know, what we're doing and with the business and the podcast and everything else. And so I just want to say I appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship.
Of course.
And I'm really excited to dig in a little bit today.
Well, to give your listeners some context,
Yes.
I know in some of your other podcasts you have kind of shared our relationship. We met in Mexico on a retreat.
Yep.
And I remember you literally sitting in a pool chair.
Yep.
Smoking a cigarette.
Smoking cigarettes.
Being like, who the fuck are you? I don't want to get to know you. I don't want to get to know anybody. I don't even really want to be here.
Nope.
And I'm like, great. Like, I'm just going to sit here and we're just going to get to know each other.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, but after this, we're never going to talk. We're never going to even know each other. And I was like, bullshit.
Did I say that or exude
No,
that?
you did. And
Did I?
when I followed up with you on Facebook, you were like, oh, you actually are going to follow up with me. I said, yeah, I am.
Really?
Yes.
That's hilarious. You have a way better memory than I do. I definitely remember the pool chair and smoking cigarettes.
Yes.
And the transformation that happened for me during that trip alone literally is like, it is such a large part of the reason that I'm here today and doing the things that I'm doing today.
Wow.
Because of the different exercises that we did and the vulnerability that we had, at that retreat, that first retreat, and the things that we got to do sitting on the river and coming up with those ideas and the conversations that we got to all have privately to learn about each other and like I was telling somebody, there was somebody there, Brandon
Bartron.
What's his name?
Bartron?
Yes. So I didn't get to know him that well, but like totally different industry than me. But like he gave me so many great ideas that I got to take back.
Yeah.
Right, to my business as well. And then the personal relationships that we made. That trip was awesome. But what I wanted to really make sure everybody fucking heard about, so it could be as awkward as possible for everybody, was that fucking Lake Powell trip that we took together. Because I talk about that Lake Powell trip a lot, and I talk about it today at 2:00 as well. I talk about that Lake Powell trip a lot, but what I don't talk about was the fucking breakdown that happened with you and the group.
Yeah.
And it was the most awkward, uncomfortable fucking moment
Yeah.
that I had been a part of in a really long time.
Yeah.
Could you tell your version of that story and then
Yeah.
I'll tell mine?
Yes, because I actually knew the moment that I came out, it was totally wrong timing.
Okay.
And this is why it's
So let's set the stage. Let's set the stage.
Okay.
There's like 8 or 10 guys sitting in like the galley area of the houseboat.
Yeah, and I'm in like my room that's
in the back room, like it's just a single little room laying on a bed that backs up to the kitchen to the room.
Yes.
Just eavesdropping into the conversation.
I'm like scrolling on my phone because there's no service, right? So I'm just like doing whatever, sitting there listening and
to a bunch of fucking guys.
Oh my gosh. it's like one of those moments that I feel like other women would be like, I would do exactly what you did.
Right.
And it wasn't the time. It was super inappropriate, very uncomfortable. Like,
Very
I totally
uncomfortable.
overstepped. And I'm like, oh, this is why women are not allowed to go to men's things. And I was so crystal clear that I overstepped. But I just wanted to pound in your guys' head.
What the hell were we talking about?
You guys were...
I don't even remember like exactly
You
what we
guys
were
were
talking
talking, I know, because you guys were talking about sending automated text messages to your wives to let them know that you were thinking about them during the day.
Yes.
It was like a preset
But
schedule.
all well-intentioned.
Totally.
Yes.
But you guys were missing the point.
Right.
Of like what your women are actually saying. And that's what pissed me off. Because
Right.
I'm like, okay, you guys are claiming that you want this connection with your wives. You're claiming that you're doing all these steps and doing the things that they're asking you to do, and then you're pre-scheduling text messages to go out? Like, what the hell?
And all of us are sitting there going, this is a fucking great idea.
Yeah, you guys were all bought in. And that right there is why I came out of my cave, because you guys were totally
But you came out of the
insane.
cave like a bear.
Oh, yeah. It was like, I can already feel my passion boiling up right now.
Yes.
As if I was there right now.
Yes.
It is, I still till this day get irritated because men always wonder, why are my women crazy? Why are they needy? Why are they always yelling at me and nagging? And
Right.
I've done therapy and I do these things and I swear we're connecting and I'm doing things the right way.
Right.
But you guys are missing everything that they're actually saying. Have you ever seen
I
that?
wouldn't disagree.
Have you ever seen that YouTube video with the nail?
The nail.
The nail.
No.
So this woman has a nail in her forehead. And she's sitting on the couch complaining to her husband. She's like, oh, my sweaters are snagged. I have this like pressure in my forehead and it's throbbing. And he's like, you have a nail in your head. She's like, no, it's not about that. You're not even listening. And she's like, it's just like up here and
Oh my
and
God.
he's just like, just take out the nail. And she's like, no. And she's like, I just need you to listen. He's like, okay. And so she's complaining and talking about all these feelings. And he's like, that must be really hard. And she's like, yeah, it is. He's like, but if you would just, and then she like rips on him. And I'm like, that right there, she's really looking for someone to hold space for her.
Right.
To just dump everything.
Right.
I call it the Instapot theory. So women all day are pressurizing and they need their men to come home and just hit the lever and all the steam will shoot up. And typically it's directed in an argument of some sort of what you are not doing good enough or what they are not doing, right? Right.
Yeah.
So it's like all this pressure comes at you, but the moment that the lever is hit and the pressure's released, eventually it'll simmer down. Eventually it'll settle and then you can open the lid and get your food out. It's the same concept with women. Some women are really great at mastering and like hitting that lever themselves. And some women are not.
Can we hit it before we get home?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So all you have to do is set the stage of like, hey, I'm sure you had a really long day. I can't wait to hear about it.
Okay.
That's it.
Interesting.
Then the moment you get home, 2 seconds, you make eye contact, say I love you, maybe kiss her, and then move on. And when she's ready to talk, she'll talk. Sometimes it might be right there and it may be really passionate.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it'll be like late at night, right before you go to bed.
Right.
And so if you know that you need to conserve a certain amount of energy to have that type of conversation, whether it's right when you get home or late at night, then you're going to be able to give your wife the time and attention that she's actually seeking. And then you don't have to schedule text messages because her love tank is full.
So you're
and she
saying
hears
don't do automated text messages.
No, don't.
Got it.
Don't do it.
Fuck.
Don't do it.
So tell me, when did you have the realization that, to your words, that you overstepped? Not in the moment.
No, I did. I knew.
Oh, you did?
I knew.
But you couldn't walk it back.
It was like I was having this out-of-body experience.
You were crying.
My body.
You started crying.
Yes, my body jumped. Literally jumped.
Yeah.
I had no control. No control. It was like autopilot. My mouth was open and going. My body was there. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? And looking at your guys' faces, you were like, trigger. Like, I know exactly what this feels like because this is what happens at home. And I was just being vulnerable. And I really, really overstepped in a really sacred moment. And that was like, there was no take backs.
I look back on it like it's hilarious now, right? Like it's fucking hilarious now. But I can literally put myself in that moment of how like we all like were kind of we were cowering and fucking like putting our heads down and like is she fucking looking at me or is she looking at Sam?
Yeah.
I hope she's yelling at Sam. Like Sam, fucking say something, Sam. Sam, do something.
He was taken back. It was
he
like,
didn't know what the fuck to do either.
Yeah.
No.
Nobody saw that coming, especially because I'm typically quiet.
Yes.
And I'm like more submissive in those types of settings where I'm a fly on the wall. You don't really know that I'm there.
Right.
I'm energetically supporting you guys.
Yes.
But in that moment, I literally, there was nothing that could have stopped me.
To that point though, to that point of like having that experience though, right? And for people listening and watching that hear that story and then they're like, oh my God, what an awful experience and how uncomfortable, and man, I wouldn't want to be a part of that, right? Yeah. But what I think people lose and what they don't think about is what then comes of that later though.
Yeah.
Because the conversations that came later, right, when you came to a bunch of us individually, right?
Yeah.
And we got to have one-on-one conversations just like you and I are having now to understand where people are coming from.
Yes.
That's where you get that growth, and that's where you get that you get to learn about other people. And it's something that I love talking about a lot is fucking empathy.
Yeah.
Right? Is learning how to have empathy for people and try to understand their viewpoint and understand where they're coming from. Now, it is very hard to have empathy and to understand where somebody's coming from when they're a bear coming out of their cave fucking screaming at you. But if you take that moment and you take that experience, once blood pressure comes down, to be able to have a conversation, be like, look, I do not like how the fuck you came at me.
Yeah.
But I'd like to understand why you did. Still might disagree with you.
Yeah.
Still might think that you're fucking batty.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that it came from a good place.
Yeah.
So I would like to know more about that, right? And when you get to do that, that's when you make real connections with people. That's when you get to make real relationships with people.
Yep.
And you get to gain trust with people because now you know that I heard you.
Well, that was a massive step that you and the other guys took. Because when I did approach you, it wasn't like you could have easily written me off and been like, nope, I'm done with you.
Right.
Like super unprofessional. I paid to be here. You overstepped. Like, no.
Right.
You guys totally could have shut down, but you guys were all, and maybe it was the setting, right? Like everyone
and that was a really
already,
good group of dudes.
Yeah. Well, and we already had a relationship to some degree.
Correct.
And so there was more forgiveness, but I appreciated that all of you were willing to overlook or just set aside for a moment to hear my heart and where I was coming from.
And I think that's how you make real friends. That's how you make real relationships. And I think that's how you grow as a human. I miss that time of that smaller group of what we had for like a year and a half, 2 years. I miss that group like I miss high school football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I miss that so much, and like nobody can recreate it right now because I mean it's a business and it is what it is and it's grown into this thing like, and everybody's doing, you know what I mean? But I miss that intimate time that we all got to have together to really grow and learn from each other, and I wish I could go back in time and steal that again.
There's a lot of people that go through these types of experiences where they're starting their own brand and they're like, I want to have this tight-knit group and I want to connect with these people and I want to have it in that type of setting. And that right there, you can recreate that with multiple groups over time and still scale a business, right?
Correct.
But it is special.
It is.
Because what you guys shed there and what you got in touch with there is so special. I was actually talking to Zach Johnson.
Okay.
And he and I have the very similar story as you and I, except for he called me a bitch and said we would never be friends. Like flat out. And now if
I did not call you a bitch.
No, you didn't.
No.
But he did. And like if you were to call him right now, he would cry in gratitude of like the friendship and closeness that we had.
Right.
And to speak to what you're saying of what we created there isn't something that we can just recreate again and again and again. It
Although
is so,
I'm going to try.
Of
so
course.
I have something that I'm going to try and launch in 23.
Okay.
my brother-in-law owns a dive company down in
Right.
Grand Cayman, right? And I was down there a couple months ago. We're going back in March, and we were talking, and we're like, I was talking about how I love that opportunity, that experience, and how I've really gotten into like different health benefits of like breathing exercises and
Yes.
cold plunges and like, you know, not yoga, but like mind's fucking weird, goofy shit that nobody ever thought that Eric would ever get into, right?
And read books.
And read books. Yeah, I also read books now. And George was telling me, he's like, he had a really good idea, and he's like, dude, he goes, y'all love fucking trust exercises and bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely. He's like, how cool would that be to do underwater?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. He's like, nobody has to be certified. We'll train them. You're gonna have like 3 of the top dive instructors in all of Grand Cayman underwater with you. We'll get 8 to 10 guys, and we'll make this 3-day trip where we all get to do a lot of the stuff that we got to do on that original trip,
Well,
and then go do.
Think about this. So when I dropped you guys off at the jungle and you sat there all day in your little tiny circle,
Yep.
couldn't leave, whatever. You could write notes, whatever. But down below, when you're down below the water,
Yep.
the only thing you have with you is your mind.
Correct.
The only thing.
Yep.
So
why I love
in
it.
Mexico, you had nature, you had water, you had elements, you had your journal. Like
Yep.
there's things that you can still do to distract your mind.
Right.
But being trapped below water with only your mind
Yep.
and no communication, you can't talk to anybody, even
Right.
if they're in visual sight.
Yep.
But being mentally alone and working through some of that stuff is powerful.
Yeah. Super cool. So
What an incredible
I'm
idea.
trying to launch that in 23. So I'm excited about it.
I'll tell you the one thing about trying. I don't believe in trying.
Fair.
Because
yell
I
at
know that you're
everybody,
gonna do
too.
it.
I
I
yell
know.
at everybody too. I don't allow people.
Because
to say
if
that
there's
either.
anything I know about you,
Yeah.
Eric, is that your
do
word
it.
and you
Yeah.
take committed action to get stuff
We're
done.
going to do it.
You're doing it.
Somebody asked me a question though the other day. They're like, "Well, how do you get to be like? How do you qualify to be able to go on the trip?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"If I like you."
You're like, well, I mean, but you would probably bring the people that you don't like too. You're
Incorrect.
Like, really?
No,
So only the
not
people
on the
you
first
like.
one.
Oh, I see.
Not
yeah,
on the first
but
one.
what if there's people that don't like each other?
Ooh, because that happened.
Because you may like other people, but what if they don't like each other? Because let's go back
That's a great question.
to when you were supposed to room with someone.
Yeah.
And you're like, hell no.
Yeah.
I'm not rooming with somebody.
Correct.
I'm not friggin' sharing a bed. I'm a
Correct.
grown ass man.
Correct. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some digging on that. My goal was to be very selective on
Yeah.
that first group so that I didn't run into that
Yeah.
specific issue, but that will be a specific issue that I will run into.
Yeah.
So write that down. Actually, yeah, that's something that Eric's gonna have to dig into. Okay, we've been going for a while. But there's something that I want to make sure that I do not miss. I want to hear a little bit about the story of you and your ex, now husband, fucking like that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like that's a wild ass story.
I know.
That, I mean, like, cause I heard, I mean, we were friends before, during, after, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I still never got it, right? Just, I don't need like all the nuts and bolts and whatever, but like, it's such a cool story that I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about it.
Yeah. So before that retreat, I was in the process of going through divorce.
Right.
And it actually finalized right like days before we were going
which
to Mexico.
retreat? Mexico, okay.
So before Mexico, I was going through divorce. At Mexico, I literally had signed my documents. It was finalized, and then I went to Mexico.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was like rip off the Band-Aid.
Wow.
Like, it was really intense. And when I was in Mexico, I had this incredible experience of when we were standing at the fire pit and you guys were giving me feedback. And I realized that I was this incredible soul that I hadn't let myself out. But I hadn't seen that because for years I was in the ups and downs of a marriage where my husband was intensely addicted to drugs.
Right.
And so I was silenced, my own choosing of being silent, and that's where I thought that I would stay. But after that retreat, I realized that I have this incredible innate power within me, and the only way that it's going to come out is if I do something with it. And so after that retreat, I went through the self-development course and like dove in. And during that time, my ex-husband and I were still friends. We were still very cordial. I knew that I wasn't wanting to be in a romantic, committed relationship to him, but he's a person.
Right.
And I was his person, and I still wanted to be his person to some degree.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to be alone.
Right.
And so we stayed in close
Especially
contact.
in that state.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's already lonely.
Right.
And so we stayed in close contact, more just friends. I'd support however I could.
Because you had a kid together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't present.
Right.
And so it was like, how do I let my kid know that he's there without knowing that he's not there?
Right.
And so, anyways, we built this friendship. It was absolutely phenomenal. And then over time, he eventually got clean. And I remember we were on our way up to, it had to have been like a funeral or some celebration in Idaho. And he was like, Lynsi, I love you. I'm in love with you. You're my person. I want to do life with you. And I'm like, oh, I had all these things going through my mind of like, no, I don't want to go through the last 10 years of what we just went through. I'm not going to go back there. I'm not the same person. And he challenged me and he said, listen, I want to do this with you. And if we can just make amends right here and say this day forward and every day forward after that, that we will lay our history to rest and that we take the day where we are and move forward day by day by day, moment to moment.
And how long had he been clean?
Like 4 months.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
still on a
years,
pink cloud.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Pink cloud. Like, and I had heard it millions of times before, and I'm like, no. But there was something different about the way he was asking me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, oh, trust me, like this.
Right.
It was accountability from him and accountability from me to say, I forgive you, I accept where we are, I accept where we've been, and now we're going to move forward. And we're not going to look back. And that means I can't use ammo from 10 years ago.
Did you let him one step close you in that moment?
Kinda. I mean, I'll say it opened me, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And the moment that I was open to the idea, it was a done deal.
Say that again?
The moment that he opened the door, that I opened the door, it was a done deal.
Yeah.
So whether I signed that day or not, I already knew that I was committed to move forward.
Wow.
And from there, I saw him in new light. It wasn't about where his history, where he had been and all the things that had happened.
And so did you like start dating again?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
And in fact, I was just telling him, because, now we got married. Last year we got married.
Yeah.
And it was like three years past our divorce, we got married. Remarried.
So fucking wild.
Yeah. And we did redate. And I was telling him, now that we're married, not that it's much difference between dating and married, but it is because we stopped dating.
Right.
And I'm like, I miss that, like, passion. Maybe it's passion, but I miss that passion and connection.
Yeah.
But I do remember, like, dating him through that time was the best time of my life because I had been waiting. The second time.
Yeah.
I had waited. I thought that's what my marriage was going to be. That.
Right.
And it wasn't.
No.
And so now I got to actually experience him in a new way. And I'm like, it's about damn time.
That's cool.
So 100%, it's worth it.
So, and you're both being intentional now after getting remarried to continue that path.
And the difference this time around, because I used to nitpick over everything.
No.
Everything would create an argument. So what you guys felt in Lake Powell, imagine that on a larger scale and more frequently.
Right.
And now I can say that we don't get in arguments over petty things anymore.
That's awesome.
Because we establish we call it acreage.
What?
We call it acreage. So I have my 10 acres in our home. He has his 10 acres and our daughter has her 10 acres. And we have shared real estate where I do some things and he does some things and she does some things. And so, the things
Is that like the 10 acres and a mule thing? Is that where it came from?
No, I went through this couples and commitment experience. And they talked about how, because I originally went into this training thinking, I'm going to murder my husband because he opens a bag of chips at 2 a.m. when I'm almost in my deep sleep.
Right.
And I wake up with anxiety and I want to punch him.
Right.
And I'm like, how do I get past this?
Right.
How do I get over the little petty things?
Yeah.
And I realized that establishing acreage in my home, meaning anything that I feel that's unlike love, I own. That's my real estate. So I'll use the example of putting food away after the grocery store. When we go grocery shopping, my husband just throws things everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we double buy things and things go bad and I'm like, enough. I hate this. When you buy groceries, drop them on the floor and I'll put them away.
Right.
And then I know that it's done my way.
Right.
And we don't ever have to get in conflict because I'm doing what brings me joy. He's doing what brings me joy and not getting in the way of what
Natalie
brings me
literally
joy.
yelled at me the other day and told me to just drop shit on the floor.
Yeah.
Like it literally
It's
happened.
a real thing.
I was like, do you really want me to just drop shit on the floor? I was like,
Because
okay.
what that does for me is that it brings me peace knowing that I can put things where they go.
Right.
And it keeps it
I don't know where
organized.
anything goes.
Right. But it's there
Yeah.
for you when you need it.
Yeah.
That's how we serve you.
I think it just magically appears.
I know, and that's okay. But that's our illusion, right? We want
Yeah.
to take care of our
Yeah.
men so
Yeah.
that it does. You
Yeah.
just feel like
and if
you
we're
can
out of
go in the
mayonnaise,
pantry.
I'm like, isn't there a backup?
Yeah.
Why isn't there a fucking mayonnaise backup?
Exactly. But that's where we kick in and say, oh, that's in our cold storage, right? We're going to pull it out and
Right.
restock it so that you don't
Right.
have to have that thought.
Yeah, I never worried about not having stuff during COVID.
No.
Because I knew that there was 175 rolls of toilet paper fucking hidden in the goddamn
Yes.
storm
Yep.
shelter somewhere.
Yes.
Yes, because she handled that.
So that is a way that we as wives support our spouses and our families.
That's really cool. I know we're going really fucking long and I give zero fucks. I mean, we could do this for 2 fucking hours, but you do so many, I mean, I don't even know what the fuck you do and how you make money anymore, but a lot of the insight that you're giving now is, I know that was at one time, and maybe it still is, was like a passion
Yeah.
of yours, correct?
Yeah.
Have you done anything with that to help people, couples, families, whatever, because I mean, like, I don't know, just sitting here and having that small conversation, I could see it being a 4-hour, you know what I mean, or a
Yeah.
4-day
Yes.
conversation, like, of helping people,
Yeah.
right? Is that something that you do?
I considered monetizing it and turning it into a business.
Yeah.
The issue with that is that I would receive so many phone calls that
Yeah.
would go 2, 3, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Or they would lean on me as a crutch to say, Lynsi,
You'd have
answer
to be
this for
very
me.
structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
and
structured.
I felt like in that structure, it wasn't supporting them.
Yeah.
It was more codependent. And so I'm like, I don't want to create the codependence.
Yeah.
And so I didn't ever monetize it. It's still a very big passion of mine.
Yeah,
as
and you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now I just do it because I love people.
Yeah.
And I just, for the good of them and their relationships and their families, like,
You get more out of it
yeah,
doing it that way too.
Yeah.
Because like I've done that with like trying to help mentor people, whether it's in commercial roofing space
Yes.
or whatever it is. And like the minute that I try to monetize it, it becomes something completely different. And I don't, and it feels not gross, but like,
so I had someone ask me, can you just create a company where it kind of puts you, the other, and the couple in a group text, and I could just respond for the other person because they say, Lynsi, you're so good with words. If you can just write this for me, because you understand what I'm saying. If you could just write it for me, then it will alleviate.
That's a fucking great app.
It will alleviate the contention.
yeah.
And I've done that before. I have done that. And I've neutralized divorces.
Let's do this together. Let's make a translator.
Yes.
It's a
I'm
translator.
I'm saying this,
And then it
I
comes
wanted
out.
to say this.
Yes. So then before I send it.
That's
fuck.
me.
Oh, we can make a lot of money
I know.
with that.
See? So
they don't even
I'm
need to
like,
know that it's you.
I know. But then I thought about the scheduled text message. And it brought me back to that, and I just thought it would be
But
better
if you're
for me to teach.
unable,
But that's where
because
communication
maybe you
comes in
graduate
key.
them.
Yes.
Because you're teaching them through the app, and then they graduate to
Yeah.
not being a fucking idiot.
Yes.
And then they know how to talk.
So now I finally have like a core
I'm stealing that
foundation of the principles to do like step 1, step 2, step
Yep.
3, step 4. I finally have that.
Okay.
In the past I didn't, now I have it. If you want to build something, I'm
No,
happy to collaborate
I have
with
way
you.
too many fucking
I
things
know.
going on. Yeah,
Add it to the
I
plate.
just love that idea, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really
It's needed.
genius fucking idea.
It's needed.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've considered my heart and soul pouring it into something like that. It's just a lot of time.
It is.
And I don't know that I'm committed to that.
I mean, you would have to put like 95%
Yeah.
of your time into it.
Yeah.
And it'd probably take a year
Yeah.
to like really
At least.
land it.
I mean,
Yeah.
content alone. There's
Yeah.
just so much content.
Yeah.
And so many different scenarios. But
Yeah.
I can say the foundation that I've been able to lay for the steps is easy enough that it can apply to everybody.
That's awesome. Okay. We have went very, very long. I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
The way that we always end these is if you had anything on your mind coming into this that I missed, or anything that you want to double down on that we talked about and leave the audience with, I give the floor to you.
Nope. I just want to express my gratitude and what an honor it is watching you on your journey. Seeing you in the very beginning of our relationship to where it is now. I love that I can just call you anytime and just have a heartfelt conversation about our families, about our children, about business. And it comes from a really loving, genuine place. So thank you.
Some of the most meaningful texts I get are the random ones that you just send me that I don't expect coming at all.
Yeah.
And it ends up being exactly what I needed to hear that day. And
I love that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the fuck out of you. And I'm excited to see what happens to us the next 3 years.
Yes.
So thank you, Lynsi, for being
you.
here. And remember, everybody, be authentic. Or get the fuck out.
You can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Yeah. Swipes.